Yesterday I built this pond and sealed it with clay, and about an inch layer of clay over dried grass and some wool that had been soaking over the winter. And today the water level is still almost the same. It's gone down maybe an inch, and that could include evaporation and animals drinking it as well. But I'm so excited because instantly this is holding water, and that's because of the anaerobic bacteria. So I've been experimenting with the Gley technique for sealing ponds, which uses anaerobic bacteria. That means bacteria that grow without oxygen. And I have tried it a few times and where it didn't work, and the 2 times it did work, the way I did it was I had clay that had been soaking in a bucket over winter for like months. One time the clay had manure in with it, and I thought that's why it worked. But this time, this was soaking not on purpose, but it was soaking over the winter. And so when I went to use the clay, it had this kind of sewagey smell. That's the anaerobic bacteria. And I basically put like an inch or less layer over the top of dried grass. And actually I had some wool that was soaking too that had a lot of the anaerobic bacteria in it. And then I put water in it, and immediately it held water. And it's almost been 24 hours later, and the water level is just slightly lower, which could also be evaporation and animals drinking it, but it's holding. And so there are cultures all over the world that know that you can ferment clay with manures, and that it will create waterproofing. And I don't know if it still holds when it's dry, but I'm discovering this for myself, how it's working. And it's so exciting. If I just soak clay to long enough that it gets the anaerobic bacteria in it, it's holding water. And I love my tiny pond because it's a water source for a lot of wildlife. In the hot summers, I get tons of quail and bunnies, and I've had foxes and bobcats and coyotes and snakes and all kinds of beautiful birds in it. And now that I can seal it without plastic, without concrete, which would crack and it doesn't breathe, with a totally natural method. And if you look into the Gley method, it's pretty fascinating because you could do larger scale ponds, and basically you create a layer of organic material underneath a clay layer. So the clay prevents oxygen from going into that organic matter layer underneath, and so it starts to break down anaerobically and creates a seal over time. But I don't have experience with that working that way. I have experience with just soaking the clay and having it working immediately. I believe the other method, it takes time for that to actually develop to where it will hold water. But look into it. It's called Gley.